Did I even go live? Come on, YouTube. Make sense of it. There it is. It's live. Cool. All right. Welcome back. Decided to make this stream and play around with it. I actually saw this earlier. This is from 19 hours ago. Devs were working on the orc. Skip through here.
I basically had to
It would help to share the
erase all my
screen.
changes and set up thing again. Let's see if it did anything.
I like how he has a to-do list. Spider's done. Still got to work on the orc, wolf, giant, bear. McDonald's. I'm kidding. McConnell. I can't read that. I don't know if that's an L or an I. Myconid? Whatever. I'm not sure what that is. I want to skip through. Yeah, that's an ominous orc. I would definitely not want to mess with that thing.
Okay. So
Yeah, that's a mean looking orc.
finessing the gradient.
Yeah, and this orc specifically reminds me of something from Lord of the Rings, which I love. I mean, when EverQuest first came out, that was around the time when I first watched Lord of the Rings, so
So that it's smoother. But
kind of like the fantasy world I was diving into.
that's one of the complaints I have with the lerping system we have is it degrades the textures for some reason.
Yeah, heck yeah, that's awesome. Oh no. So this is the video I really wanted to watch, by Mr. Redbeard Flynn himself.
This classically inspired MMO from a former EverQuest dev is starting to look really damn good.
Yeah. Textures are starting to look a lot better. I love it. That that right there, I didn't see this until Redbeard Flynn shared it. But that right there is exactly what I was hoping for. I was literally hoping that the next thing they do would be something along the lines of Calathan type city. I mean, they have to. Please. I've been waiting for years for something similar to that.
Monsters and Memories ended last year with a meaty update that has a ton of promise for 2024, and it's a big reason why I'm excited to see what they have in the coming months. If you've been looking for that classic EverQuest experience, you may have already been following Monsters and Memories. If you haven't, let me introduce you to one of the most interesting projects out there that has been going for a couple years at this point. Monsters and Memories is still in its very early stages, but the recent update has 3 things I'm really hyped about: lighting, shading, and a new biome. We can talk about the lighting and shading together while we go through some of these before and after stills they showed in the update. See, they kind of go hand in hand to create an environment that feels more real. Not real in the sense of like going the fuck outside. No, I mean, that's not what I mean, although I probably should at some point and get some steps in. But what I'm talking about is actually like adding dynamism and adding a feeling of immersion, an ability to get into the game, because while yes, it'll obviously always be a game, it does make it feel a bit more like a world, like this.
Yeah, so textures look very flat. Still didn't have any complaints because when I was in the game, again, you felt like you were in EverQuest, and not just because of the graphics, but just there was something about it. That's like very subtle, but it's gonna make a world of a difference. So I'm focusing in on this right here and this right there and that right there. Let me go back a second. Oh yeah, I mean, it's night and day. I mean, that's the beauty of the development stage that we're in. Like right now, it's basically gray boxing. Like as far as I'm concerned, the whole game is gray boxed. That's not actually true. There's a lot of finished textures, but it's a modern engine. You know what I mean? EverQuest was built with cardboard and sticks. You know, now we have Unity, we have all these. Anyways, it's looking much better. That's awesome.
You see, in these stills, there's a lot more depth. There's a lot more
I remember that.
realism in these photos.
Oh yeah, that's
it's not
nuts.
necessarily, it doesn't.
This is, yeah, that's what I mean. That is exactly what classic EverQuest looked like. So you got those vibes. Excuse me. You got the vibes when you got into Monsters and Memories and you looked at something like this. It did leave that sense of something desired, like you wanted to see more. And obviously empty rooms are empty rooms, right? And they're going to fill everything in. But this right here, just from the lighting and the textures, yeah, I'll take that any day of the week.
Textures that necessarily make something feel real, but more about the lighting and physics. A good example of how this works is if you think about Valheim, which no one is going to accuse of having.
I always use this example. And by the way, when people were complaining about Pantheon, Rise of the Fallen, and the graphics, that's one thing I would say. I mean, look at Pantheon. Look at Valheim. Valheim, like, on its base, in its core, is just like a pixelated game, a very pixelated art style, right? But because of all the atmospheric effects and stuff like reflections, sun rays, it looks absolutely beautiful, you know?
Photorealistic graphics. But the lighting that is used in that game is used so well that it really brings the world to life. And that's something we're starting to see a little bit here with Monsters and Memories, but I'm very eager to see it in game whenever we get an actual playtest. Still, these pictures look pretty awesome.
Yep.
In some of these before pictures, you can't even really see any definition on any of.
Yeah, that's night and day. I mean, to be honest, when I was playing the playtest, my imagination was kind of filling in the gaps because I was so immersed in the gameplay and yada, yada, yada. And that's kind of how it is when I play EverQuest today, even, 1,000 years later. But that immediately just has so much more depth, character, and yeah, realism, because your mind is going to fill in the blanks anyways. Like once you're in the world and you're immersed in your character and your role and all that stuff. And this is, I guess, for somebody like me, which, you know, I can play in a big group and be social, or I can be extremely solo. But, you know, I get sucked into my role as a player, and my imagination kind of fills in the blanks. So if I get a world that looks like this but plays like classic EverQuest, I don't know if I'll be able to, you know, leave my desk again.
Of the alcoves or even the windows, it makes them look very flat and utilitarian.
Oh, wow.
The rooms look like they are basically just empty.
Yeah.
They're too bright. There's no dynamics. With the new
That's
lighting
crazy.
and shading passes, not to mention the new higher fidelity environmental textures, which were also mentioned in the update, they are really, like, it looks, pardon the saying, but it looks like night and day. They look so completely different, and they look really, really good. You can tell the definition from afar. They look real. That is perhaps the change that I'm most excited about to see in game. But this next one, which admittedly, I don't know how soon it's going to be, but I'm very, very excited about, because we're getting a new biome for the first time in Monsters and Memories. And I'm ready to leave the desert. You see?
That, yes. Yes. Now, my immediate feedback, and this is me pleading with Monsters and Memories, with the devs. Assuming this is a new biome, please make it a livable biome. Like, I want to bind here. I want to live here. I want to buy, sell, quest from here. Basically, I want an actual Kelethin styled city, you know.
We're going to Kelethin.
Yeah, I see the cat people, you know. Personally, I mean, as a veteran wood elf, I feel like we deserve the treehouse, but I digress.
Okay, so maybe not quite Kelethin. It's not like EverQuest like cornered the market on having a city in the trees, but as someone who grew up with EverQuest, that is immediately where I go to.
Yeah, but when you think of it in fantasy lore, like, okay, Lord of the Rings, I forgot what the cities are called, but in Lord of the Rings, where do they go? They're in the trees, right? I think it was in the first movie. They're in the trees. There's the wraparound staircase. In classic World of Warcraft, where did the night elves start? Also in the trees. They have the wraparound, everything. And I think, actually, I know this is my opinion, but I'm 100% positively sure that for me personally, Kelethin in EverQuest did it better than the other ones, as far as like World of Warcraft or whatever. But
and all of like the fear of how I would fall off of the sides and die and
yeah. Yes. The PTSD is real.
And as you can see in the stills and the
Yeah.
concept art, there's not exactly a lot of railing here, so I guess we need to be a little bit careful. It is also one of the biomes that is perhaps as far away as possible from the desert biome they've been working on, except I guess perhaps adding snow. The concept...
I remember when they shared this concept art for the first time, and look, I'm smiling from ear to ear right now, because this is exactly what I've been waiting for it's scared to say this, but decades. I played the playtest. I loved it, and I was and really, even when I was following Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, in my mind, the one thing I was always thinking of is, hey, Brad McQuaid is on the project. He knows how we feel about, you know, Kelethin and Wood Elves and whatever. And some people aren't into that, but I am. And we want that classic Lord of the Rings experience. And when I see something like this, that deep fantasy forest that's ominous, and look at the scale. Look at the scale of the trees versus the little houses over here. I'm telling you, if wood elves don't live in this in these woods, I might be a little upset.
Art for this dark, mysterious forest just begs you to go in and explore.
Heck yeah.
I'm a huge fan of geometry that makes your character feel small, whether it's an imposing castle or the majesty of nature. Couple this new biome with the new lighting they're working on, the new shading and textures, and honestly, I'm really excited and a little bit nervous to get in. Some of those nerves may actually be because I have seen a couple shorts from Zukin, one of the team members working on some very creepy looking spiders. Could that be what lies within this dark forest? If you want to know more about Monsters and Memories, I covered it in a first look at the game that's pretty damn extensive, one in which I learned a lot about grouping with British friends. You can find that video right here.
Since we're on the subject of Kelethon, this is a magazine. Let me full screen this. This is from the EverQuest. I think this is the game. Yeah, Chapter 1, Greater Fade Dark. Chapter 2, Lesser Fade Dark. Okay, so this is like the tabletop. Let me zoom in here. Fador is home to the largest forest in all of Norath, the Greater Feydark. Here the trees tower hundreds of feet above one's head, their trunks thicker than a large wagon, foliage so dense that the sun's rays never touch the ground. The Greater Feydark is renowned throughout the world, and many travel to admire its trees and bask in its ancient majesty. But the forest is not without dangers, and the unwary may soon learn to regret their visit. Long ago, the elves say, before... oh... Okay. Shoot. I choked. Oh. Long ago, yada yada. And then it was probably some orcs and some baddies that came through and it ruined everything. Kind of like I ruined that read through. But look at that. There's ranger stations. There's Crushbone. Some spider place. There's Felwith. What is this though? Is this like supposed to be like a pathway? Oh my gosh, so it's technically 100 miles. That scale right there. Do you see that? That is wild. Okay, Caravan Road. The single most important landmark within Greater Feydark is the Caravan Road. The elven city of Kelethon stands roughly halfway up the western edge of the dark forest with the Steamfont Mountains at its back. And the coastal city, I did not know it was a coastal city. So it's technically supposed to, okay. Really? Man. This is what I love. And I really hope, and I know. Let's go to the Monsters and Memories website for a second. One of the things that's going to separate Monsters and Memories from every other MMO is it obviously is classically inspired. Look, boom, we were just talking about Felwith. And that's the first thing I think of, Felwith, High Elves. And the lore is going to be sick. I just know it. Look, it's freaking Caladan or Moria, right, from Lord of the Rings. You got your little hobbits, like they know what we want. We just you don't need to reinvent the wheel, right? So, okay, great example of not reinventing the wheel. What came out like several weeks ago? Power World, right? aka Pokemon with AK-47s. They took something that is, they took a combination of Pokemon, like collecting little rats and making them fight other rats. What's that other game called? Monster Hunter. So there's like third person view, like battling. Valheim, and Rust, or that other game with the dinosaurs. Rust, Valheim type like building styles, and they mixed it all together, and boom, instant classic, masterpiece, whatever you want to call it. They sold like 4 million copies in like 3 days. If Monsters and Memories, and they got an amazing team, if Monsters and Memories does the same thing, just do not reinvent the wheel. Take the core that was successful back in the day, EverQuest, and build your imagination into it with lore and everything. So our team, the story, how it all got started, the development. Hold on one sec. This is my first time going live, so it's not like I know what I'm doing here. All right. Story. The development of Monsters and Memories began as a series of discussions during live streams and interviews between a former EverQuest game designer, his colleagues from that project, and the fans who came to ask questions. We often discussed how games of that era, MUDs, early 2000s, felt more like virtual worlds and created a sense of place. Absolutely, couldn't agree more. There was more social friction, more of a sense of community, and a greater sense of agency and wonder. Now, the topics became a more frequent part of our stream discussions, so we set out to deconstruct them, determine if we could recreate aspects of the feel, and potentially follow a design path that was all but abandoned as games like World of Warcraft saw greater mainstream and commercial success. Which, by the way, original World of Warcraft was awesome. And to me, it was awesome because I played Warcraft 1. I played Warcraft 2, like when it first released. I played Warcraft 3, and I loved that RTS. And when they said, hey, we're gonna zoom into the world and you're gonna become one of those little minions and you're gonna go out and actually do quests just like you did in EverQuest, I'm like, heck yeah, let's go. Like, I was excited, and it was really good. You know, I played a night elf for a while. It was really cool, but it wasn't the same as EverQuest. It wasn't the same. It was a much more linear type of experience. EverQuest is just like, you get plopped into a dark forest. You have no idea what the heck you're doing. You know no one. You know nothing. And it's a mud style game. Like, you know, the old games I remember from my childhood, they were text-based to a certain degree, right? Quest for Glory, Space Quest, some other ones where you had to like click or sometimes type out what you wanted to happen. Right? And EverQuest was the same way. Like, you'd hail somebody, they'd start talking. You'd notice that there was a word in brackets, and then like they would say, the forests of Greater Feydark have been under attack. Like, and that word would be in brackets by by a mysterious darkness. And then if you typed in what attacks, right, the dialogue would continue. Right, so it was a lot more. I don't know the word I'm looking for, but like you had to use the gray matter right between your ears. It wasn't just like click the person with the exclamation point and start your quest and collect 6 rabbits, whatever. Even though technically in some ways EverQuest did the same thing. it was just a different experience because it forced you to be involved with the world. And it's almost like, all right, I'll give you an example. When you're trying to memorize something, somebody might say, hey, just write it down. And when you physically take the action of taking the pen, putting it on the paper, and writing out your thoughts, it helps you embed it in your brain. Same thing. I mean, if you're in Monsters and Memories, and instead of just clicking a button, having that quest show up in your quest log, when you're actually typing through and responding to this NPC, you're reading what the NPC is writing. You're typing in your response by thinking about what you're typing, and then you're getting a response. So you're getting the context, and you're actually getting a piece of the lore in the process. Now, obviously, if it's a repeatable quest, you're not going to read it again and again and again. You're just going to go do the damn quest. But that's, I digress. So, the topics became more frequent, part of the stream. Yeah. Our open, often live stream development has enabled us to gather feedback and test these ideas with our community in real time. And the project has, in the 3 years since its inception, 3 years, grown into a team of over 15 artists, designers, programmers, and others, including professional game developers. I didn't realize it was 15 people. Emulator developers, shout out P99, freelancers, and professionals from other industries. If I was more talented, which definitely not, I would love to be a part of, contribute. But anyways, our open approach has also allowed us to test critical infrastructure and core gameplay, even while we're still in early development. Yeah, I was getting 60 FPS. This latest playtest, 60 FPS. The client didn't crash even once. I don't know if I can pull it up really quick, but my videos, recordings, playtest. Where? Playtest. 11, 12, 23. I mean, I think this is just from the stress test. What is this? 11 gigs. And I think this was the first stress test I ever did, and I wasn't using OBS. They have all the gray boxing there. The audio is terrible right now. That's because I was recording with like Windows Clip Champ or whatever. But look at the draw distance and like the depth that they already have in this world. And it didn't crash once. Nothing crashed. Everything, and I think this playthrough, I got a max of like 30 FPS. Which, let me see here. Let's prove it out. Yeah, 35 FPS right there. That was during the November stress test. They did a random stress test. Now, during the actual playtest, blah, blah, blah. Hey, welcome back to Class&Cool. Shut up. Chips. This is okay. Look at that, 60 FPS. You can literally stop talking. I don't want to hear this guy talk. There. So 60 FPS right there, top right corner. So that's in a month. They solved the problem that they were having where they were getting 30 FPS. Some people were getting less than that. And within a month or several weeks, they fixed whatever issues they were having. They got it up to 60 FPS, no crashing, hundreds upon hundreds of people joining. I mean, they are really doing a great job. And they haven't asked for money, not once. I've like volunteered myself, like, hey, how do we donate? It's like, you can't. They won't even give you. Anyways, there's Sean. I think this should take him to his YouTube page or no, his Twitch.
All right, we are live. thank you for watching this VOD. And hopefully if you're watching this VOD, it means that I've actually been able to get my crap together and get this uploaded. I just realized I haven't uploaded videos in quite a while, but thankfully Zukin is getting stuff up and Goblin's getting stuff up, and so that's helpful. It's stuff that some stuff that allows us to look at things a little bit more, hopefully big picture, broader, and in more concrete terms. So while folks are doing cool stuff in the zones to other zone that I might be able to get to.
I want to back up here what he was talking about. Whale?
Yeah, the stream today is just to make up for the fact that I didn't stream on Tuesday. So, and honestly, I've been super heads down working on documentation stuff. Just basically all week I've been trying to get a bunch of documentation stuff knocked out. I don't know how functional I'll be after surgery next week for a little while, and I wanted to get this stuff done. And then it's stuff that some stuff that allows us to look at things a little bit more, hopefully big picture, broader, and in more concrete terms. So while folks are doing cool stuff in the zones to do like the various biome jam zone examples, I've mainly just had my face in Confluence, and also building a big zone map for all of our zones. And and the zones they'll change over time, and there'll be different ideas incorporated and all that stuff. But it was like a first pass sort of connection map to kind of look at, hey, where would we want to be, at launch and after launch, and kind of what's the bigger plan. Because in my experience working on MMOs, I've never had the opportunity to have a really super solid long-term plan on any MMO I've worked on ever. And it could be that we're fooling ourselves and thinking that we can come up with a decent, long-term plan in terms of what we're shooting for, knowing that it will change inevitably over time. But could be fooling ourselves and thinking that we can make this happen. But I feel like we're at a pretty nice spot with an idea of where we want to go with the world. And so the thing that I've been doing is just some cleanup around that, making sure that in our documentation we've got a Confluence entry for every one of those boxes on the map, and there's a lot of boxes. And any ones that already had some thought, put into them, or hey, I've had an idea for this zone or that zone or whatever. I wanted to get that jotted down.
So, I mean, I appreciate that. I appreciate that they're basically creating a framework. And, when you have a vision, like everyone has ideas, everyone will have feedback. But when you have a clear vision of where you're going as a team, it makes it a lot easier when people are on one accord. Which,
it's like, gentlemen,
which
ladies.
by the way, when we were on that screen, he was inside Unity, right? He was not actually technically in game, so you gotta get a sneak peek into what the world looks like over there. I've never seen what I'm looking at right now. I've never seen this before. This is very interesting. I actually wanted to pull something else up really quick. So this is the other guy, gentleman. So he was working on this. This is where like the high elves live. I actually jumped on the stream.
Dude, actually, I just had a
was providing
fix
some
this.
feedback. Yeah. So one of the things I asked them, so this right here, I was reading over my original EQ game manual, and I was thinking how awesome if Eminem could have a physical copy plus manual and hand drawn whatever. Well, this is what I'm talking about. This. Right. So to refresh your memory, if you don't remember, if you didn't know, so you'd be welcomed by this, right? This is one of the pages. Creating your character. Race. On the left side of the screen is a list of 12 races that make up playable characters within the land of Norath. So I remember when the internet was down, I used to just read this and can't wait for the server to come back on. So this has like using hot buttons, changing camera views, right? What else? Then it goes on to moving around, using the mouse, using the keyboard. Has some concept art in there. You know, because they're doing all this concept art, it would be a shame for it to go to waste. Equipping your character. It has the old UI in there. What else? This is one thing I really loved about it. So it talks about commands, how to create a guild, help, camping. There. Yes. So the maps. I would love to see a manual come with the game. With maps just like this. So instead of having another web browser tab open, we could have a little book like this. I mean, I'm just saying, that's just my personal preference. Some people might think it's a stupid idea, but next time you get into Project Quarm or P99, if you have one of these, I challenge you to just have it on your desk and see if it doesn't enhance your, I don't know, the atmosphere or whatever. I don't know. I suspect that not a lot of people think the way I do when it comes to it. Like maybe I'm extreme nostalgia, and I'm a unicorn when it comes to that. But I mean, when I play EverQuest, it teleports me into another world. It also teleports me to the past, a past when games were challenging, meaningful, and fun, and I enjoy a challenge. I don't like turning on a game just for the sake of turning on a game, having everything at my fingertips, and just playing for a few hours and then feeling no kind of connection to the real world, right? I don't feel immersed. I don't feel connected to the other people I'm with. I could be in a raid with 65 other people and never speak to any one of them. Versus getting into a group on Orc Hill, which I did several days ago in Project Quarm, and making a meaningful connection through chatting, typing. That's, I don't know. Call me a fool, but I mean, I've gotten the same kind of feedback from talking to people. I want to hear what our guy was talking about. Hold on, let me go back here. I want to open up that tab again for Monsters and Memories. Go back to the team. Okay, so we're listening to Sean right now. I want to go back and hear what he has to say, but I want to zoom into what he was looking at a moment ago. I have way too much going on here. There it is.
Then executives will latch onto that. Of her going to work in New York in the winter versus the weather conditions that are causing her to stay at home in in Texas because she's moved to Texas. Yeah, Keith. Funny, Keith said, "Now your muscles are ripped." It felt good, man. It was a nice workout, but it's funny because the whole day he's like, here, you know, his brother was there as well. He's like, "Have my brother help you with this." I'm like, "What?" He's like, you know, have my brother on your end as well. I'm like, "Are you trying to say you're stronger than me?" Right? Like the whole time I was getting pissed off. It's like, I can carry this myself. Then he's like, "You're having surgery on 2 different body parts in the next 2 months." I'm like, oh shit. You're right. Let's see. John said, when I had to clear out my parents' place, I had to take down mom's wheelchair ramp. Place was sold. It didn't have 3-prong plugs. Had to do a whole thing with hand tools. Oh man, it's gnarly. And it's tough. It's tough. When a buddy of mine's mom passed away, like, we flew in the day she died. It was pretty tough, and then nobody else in the family was really helping do anything, and so we had to go out to her trailer and check that out. And it was gnarly. It was the same kind of deal where it's just like pretty old school. Nicodemus says, something I've learned in my industry when getting approvals on projects, present multiple options versus asking for a go or no go. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Another thing I learned from a producer on DC Universe, who is a former Microsoft guy, was he called it sort of putting the rubber duck in the presentation. And so what it would be is like presenting something where we're like, hey, executives, I'd like you to check out this zone. And then and you're not sure if they're going to give you a bunch of feedback or approvals or whatever. And so what you do is you put something blaringly, obviously incorrect in here, right? Like, so now imagine there's a bright yellow rubber duck right over here next to this rock. And so what he said was, if you just put in a glaring error, then executives will latch onto that, and then they'll talk about it for at least a quarter of the meeting. They'd be like, "Oh, what? Yeah, it's looking good. It's looking good, Sean. But we noticed you've got a giant yellow rubber duck over here. So just, you know, we were wondering if maybe we could spend some time talking about the rubber duck that's over here." Yeah, all right, yeah, let's talk about that one. That's good, especially if you're dealing with a board or whatever, because the board half the time doesn't know what the hell you do. And so be like, yeah, you're exactly the stuff. A duck, oh goodness. How in the world did that get there? Exactly. Like, well, we were just being creative. What
That's
do you guys
funny.
think about the duck? Do you have thoughts on the duck? And then
Deflect.
we would spend all the time that they're really gonna, an attention span that they're gonna allocate to feedback on the duck, and you're like, at the end of it, it's like, gentlemen, ladies,
You're right. Get rid of the duck.
good call on the duck. I think what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take it back to the team. It may be a hard sell, but I think we're gonna take the duck out. Oh, that's really great. Cool. All right.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's a good way to distract some white collar briefcase suits that know nothing about an MMO from ruining a project. That's actually brilliant.
All right. Time for us to go out to our overpriced dinner. Yeah, let's go do that.
That's funny.
If anybody is an executive or a board member or lurking in the background,
Cover your ears. I want to fast forward.
took this is the same tree. I just took the palm tree out and like stripped the color out of it to try to make it look like birch. And like, okay, we've got some golden, you know, amber zone stuff that we want to do. So tried that. And then, yeah, it's like, I think it was a Nicodemus. Nicodemus had mentioned wanting to do, is like, hey, can we do something that feels like the You know, one of the scenes from Game of Thrones where it's the woods in the winter.
Okay.
Was it? Let's see. Essentially,
I saw some lava.
The
I want to go
challenge.
back a bit. Okay.
Will there be drop
See,
bears in the trees?
So I'm blown away because this is the first time I'm seeing this, but I mean, he has in this stream, like he started off in Night Harbor, right? Jumped over to some foresty biome, and now he's showing off something that looks like Lava Storm Mountains from EverQuest.
Cannot tell you because that would ruin the surprise.
There's a surprise? What's the surprise?
Some different objects, some different textures, some different fog.
Yeah, like it. Okay, so this goes back to my previous point about, you know, Valheim. Valheim is super pixelated. I mean, this is essentially what Valheim would look like without any kind of like overlay textures and atmospheric clouds and the ray lighting and whatever. Imagine this same picture right here, but obviously with slightly upgraded textures, different lighting, atmospheric ambience. It would be a completely different world.
Will there be drop bears in the trees? Cannot tell you because that would ruin the surprise. Blender, me and Blender, and also in Pro Builder, Harrison.
I'm going to fast forward a bit.
Check it out. Another fun one. Some Journey to the Center of the Earth stuff going on here in Vietnam, I believe. Big fat polys. So
All right,
tufts of grass here and
I
there.
need to go back a bit.
All you see is a desert town. Well, this has all been the last couple of weeks we've been messing around with these new areas.
Let me go back. I wonder if those rocks are supposed to be floating like that, and if so, that's pretty cool.
All you see is a desert town. Well, this has all been the last couple of weeks.
And I love that mountain. And yeah, you know, so I played the playtest, and I want to come back to that for a moment. I don't want to hear this guy talk. So very, very simple, right? But let me go to a scene during the daytime. Hopefully I can get one where the sky looks clear. Looks like it's a cloudy day. Hey, look at that gear. Hold on. Can I zoom in? I know I can. I just got to remember how. But I love how like the gears, it's like matching here, but like I can see myself mismatching and just being like a mishmashed person. But anyways, all I was going to say is the skybox is awesome. And that alone makes the game world feel alive. Let me see, go back here. Nope. Yeah, well, bad example, but I have other videos where the sky looks a little bit more crispy. This time of day just wasn't doing it, but let's go back to what he was saying.
We've been messing around with these new areas. So that's not to say that we're not going to keep making you stare at the desert town. Hey, Poon. Good to see you in here. Typically see you in Discord. Yeah, so you guys have been complaining about not knowing which way to go per the quest instructions, so we're just going to put it up in the sky for you. butts. I'm not even gonna joke about it. Yeah, so one of the things that we've done is we've tried to really be tight-lipped on a lot of the lore.
Yeah, I was just talking about the lore earlier.
And another thing that we're going to do as we go further is you'll get glimpses of different zones we're working in, but then when you play test, you'll probably be still sort of constrained to Night Harbor in that area. And then more and more, it's already the case. There's stuff that's just going in that can't show it all off. And so there'll be more and more mystery building up in the background for you.
Yeah, I mean, I do want them to keep the mystery. I mean, I don't really care. Yeah, that's why I'm glad that as much as I want to donate to the project and they keep refusing to take my money. Good, because anyone that just shows up and says this is some trash, it's going to say a lot more about that person than it is about the developers. Because if you're going to use your energy and time just to bash a project, like I see that with Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, like there are certain people that show up to every single video, like on the day it launches, quicker than the fans do, just to write trolling comments. Now, granted, Pantheon Rise of the Fallen is a little different because there's pledging, there's people that have donated thousands of dollars. So yeah, right. It's probably somebody that donated their, firstborn's college life savings because they're an idiot in the first place, with the expectation that they were gonna play the game in a week. Got butthurt when the graphics changed, and now they just permanently go to, they probably have a third monitor with Pantheon's website on 24/7, waiting for every next post and video to be posted so they can go online and talk trash about it. I'm not a Pantheon fanboy, but I'm also not a troll. And if in case you're wondering why I said all that, it's because I don't like trolls. I don't like haters. If you don't like something, just don't like it. Don't follow it. You don't have to actively be like, oh my gosh, oh, here we go. That's that, Reddit mod energy, that's what the great outdoors is for. That's what getting some vitamin D, some sunlight. In the wise words of Michael Jordan, stop it. Get some help, right? Don't be an internet troll, a keyboard warrior.
You guys.
And again, I'm not defending Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. They've been in development for a very long time. However, if you know the context of Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, let me go there real quick. Pantheon. There's actually a good video about it by, hold on, Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. There was a kid that used to make good videos on it. I forgot his name. He stopped making videos. There he is. This guy. He made a good video.
Welcome back to
Basgrim TV. Go to videos. He made a very long video about this. 36 minutes. Nope. Pantheon Watch Party. How Pantheon has changed since 2015. Man, he did a lot of watch parties, but he made a very good video, and I'm trying to find it. What got done in 2021. It was basically like a retrospective video about man, I didn't realize he had all these videos. I'm just looking for the one video that really stood out to me. 5 myths about Pantheon. But anyways, while I'm looking for this, he made some really good points, and I it was all stuff that I already knew about. But I remember when Brad McQuaid passed. First of all, absolutely tragic when that happened. It kind of hit me differently. Like I don't get emotionally attached to developers, actors, musicians, anything like that. People come and go, and it's when it happens. Well, there's the video about future of Pantheon, Rise of the Fallen without Brad McQuaid. When this happened.
Recently, gaming news website Massively OP came out with this article citing Brad McQuaid's death as a reason to be uncertain about the future of Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. And this stuck out to me because actually just a few days before that, I was having a conversation with a fan on Twitter who is having some of the same concerns. And so
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to continue a project when the visionary behind it passes, right? So your game could be in development for 5 years, and then so let's say you have a startup business that starts with one guy, right? He gets 5 employees, 10 employees. 5 years down the road, he's got 50 employees, but he's still the visionary. He's still the CEO, CFO, COO. He's the visionary behind the company. And then he passes just out of nowhere. And the next person closest to him kind of takes over. Doesn't have the same dedication as the visionary who literally put his heart and soul into the project. It's not going to be the same afterwards, right? So you can basically take Pantheon Rise of the Fallen and say, after Brad McQuaid died, when they made the decision to continue the project, they started from scratch. So when I consider Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, how long it's been developed, I don't count it like, 10 years. I don't. It hasn't been in development for 10 years. It's been in development since Brad McQuaid died. It's like after that, it was just start from scratch. And I commend the team and Joppa for continuing to go forward with it. I guarantee you 9 out of 10 people in their situation would have given up. So I give them a lot of I give them a pass on a lot of things. I haven't approved of everything, obviously. I'm not like a fanboy. It's just I hope their project succeeds. I don't wish them anything any negativity. But yeah, I mean, it's developing a game. Now with the latest stuff that they've been doing, I gotta say, I mean, they've made a lot of progress, and the people that do stream it and play, they'll tell you. Static Group does a lot of videos on them. Let me see if I can find a decent video on it. But when I watch them do their live streams, it looks fun. It looks like they're having a great time. I can see myself having a good time. Live pre-alpha gameplay.
I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, immediately I've watched that for a few seconds, and I'm kind of drawn in. It's misty and cloudy and whatnot, and the way everything is laid out does remind me of EverQuest. It still has that classic feel. And I don't expect the graphics to be good. I don't expect the animations to be good. I'm not even looking at that. I'm more of looking at I kind of don't want it to be too fancy. I couldn't care less about graphics. I play EverQuest, and it's better than any other game I've played in the past 20 years. My worry about Pantheon is the fact is, I said this a few minutes ago, don't reinvent the wheel, and that's why I'm excited for Monsters and Memories. Monsters and Memories, I can tell they're not going to reinvent the wheel. They're going to stick to what works. And if we're going to say what is the next EverQuest, it's definitely going to be Monsters and Memories, in my opinion. I think Pantheon Rise of the Fallen is going to be more like that other project that Brad McQuaid did right after EverQuest. Oh gosh, what is that game called? It'd be helpful if somebody in the chat knew what I was talking about. So there was EverQuest, EverQuest 2. Brad McQuaid worked on another project, and it was called... Somebody said it in one of my videos. It's going to bug me if I don't remember it, so I'm going to have to... go to my channel. Intro music, audio, I'm down to watch. There's somebody in the chat that specifically mentioned this game. If anyone is watching and they remember that project that I'm talking about, it's the other game that Brad McQuaid was working on that didn't succeed. Awesome game. Vanguard. There it is. Vanguard. So I think that Pantheon Rise of the Fallen is going to be more like Vanguard Saga of Heroes. That's what I think. I think Monsters and Memories is going to be a spiritual successor to EverQuest, original EverQuest. And I think Pantheon Rise of the Fallen is going to be for people that were into Vanguard. I've never played Vanguard. I don't know what I'm talking about. That's just based on the feedback I've seen and the videos I've seen. So yeah, that's my opinion.
Some 3 armor gloves here. I already have some, so take it, whoever.
I also have 3 armor gloves.
All right,
I'm gonna let this play for a minute.
Do you want to
take the burglar? Yeah, I'm gonna do the thug there.
All right.
Burglar.
Oh, there's a... No, that's a sparrow. Never mind.
No attacking your
Don't
group
attack!
Wow.
members. There's no PvP here.
I need a quick AFK. I hotted sparrow or crew already, so... One of those birds has a hot. Be right back.
Oh my god, had a little more meat on the bone.
She might have a hammer on her too.
Yeah, and the sound design is really nice on this.
Weather bow stuff. Okay.
The rain sounds good. The thunder sounds good. The background music sounds good.
I just got a 16 damage broadsword.
Noise.
16 damage?
Wow.
Yep.
Holy cow.
That's two-hander though, I take it.
No, it's
One-handed?
I still got my shield.
Holy
Wow. Okay, that's an insane drop. Wow.
All right, we're ready for skellies.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's go
We're
find some hard
We're
stuff,
ready
man.
for the caves.
And that was just a drop, right?
Was that a drop or did Akbak hook you up?
I think somebody handed it to me.
Oh, yes.
Oh, did they?
Somebody's buffing us up, yeah.
That's what it is.
Let's
There's no way that would have dropped from
There
the...
was
there was a trade,
blackberries.
but I was in battle, so I didn't see who it was.
I think it was Akbak has been coming in and out of stealth.
Oh,
That's pretty
wow.
awesome.
Yeah, I'm like, I've never seen a thug drop something like that.
Well, I was looking at the combat, like the window, like there was no loot
Yeah.
message for looting a sword or anything.
Yeah, and what I'm excited about too is the fact that like right now everything's foggy and rainy, and how the environment is going to change with the weather and all that stuff. Like, okay, here's a scene of them running around in the dark, pitch darkness. The only thing that's really lighting them up is
Okay, I need to go AFK for like half a minute.
Oh yeah, just...
their light source. Like if you had like an EverQuest light stone or whatever.
Just
I'll just be on the road here.
Yeah, that's dark. I like it.
Here.
Yeah, when you get back, Sparrow, we're just on the road.
Yeah, and the thing is that, I mean, Pantheon is going to look good. I mean, Monsters and Memories is going to look great, you know, and this is going to have its art style and whatever. I guess, you know, theory crafting and hoping, right, all that stuff, it's a waste of time. Yeah, you know, if you want to see something like this in the next year, you shouldn't follow the project. I'm perfectly fine playing EverQuest for the next decade, on and off, and dabbling into whatever else comes out in my free time. But I'm not holding my breath for any of this. I'm not holding my breath for Monsters and Memories either. But I do respectfully have more faith in this team. I mean, just to hop back to this stream here.
I'm very curious to run around in here, but I couldn't get it to load, and it might just be, I'm not sure. It's something I gotta get with Ali on. Yeah, so it's something.
But this too, I mean, they're gonna have to fill in the world. They're gonna have to fill in the NPCs and the paintings and the furniture, and you know, I watch the designer streams. You know, we watched one earlier where he was working on the orc. It's a lot of work. It's tedious. They're literally working on it pixel by pixel. You know, they're not using generative AI. They're not using. Hold on. First of all, let me preface this with, I have no idea if they're using any kind of generative AI, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think developers should be using that if it creates, if it speeds up the workflow. I'm actually intrigued with the idea of, hey, let's say you were making a texture pack for original EverQuest, like Project 1999, the emulated version. There's a texture packs, which I'm using. I'm using a texture pack that makes all the old school textures look nice, right? And it dawned on me. I was like, well, hold on. These textures come in like a flat type of image, right? But when it's translated into the game, it wraps around and becomes a 3D model, right? I'm speaking in non-designer terms. Can't you take that into a AI enhancer and have AI clean up all the pixels for you so you don't have to do it pixel by pixel? Yes, you can, right? So if you can do that with something like EverQuest and create a texture pack just using AI and then some tweaking, and saved yourself hundreds of hours of workflow, then why can't you do that for something like this? Again, strategically. I'm not saying that that's how it should be done. I think that it should be a pixel by pixel design, but I think certain things AI can be used to its benefit. So you might not agree with that, and I understand why, and that's because AI has been getting flack. But I'm looking at it through a very naive perspective of only using it when it speeds up the workflow but doesn't take away from the artistic design. I'm not saying create an orc that reminds me of Lord of the Rings and have it do it for you. No. What the Monsters and Memories team is doing here, and literally, going pixel by pixel, is freaking awesome.
Trickier.
Like that. You see, this is what I was talking about, the wraparound type of the wraparound. So it's like they work on this flat canvas, and then it wraps around this polygonal shaped 3D image, which gives it all the depth and everything. But this video right here is 2 hours. This is a short video. I'll take you back and go to some of these live streams. This one's concept art. This is when he was working on the rocks. 6 hours. 3.5 hours. Hey, Lily. Hi. Oh, I'm sorry, Lily. You want to say hi? Say hello. Oh. Okay, here. You're free. Hey, you're the one that came to say hi. That's Lily. She's super chill, but ever since the husky came into our family, she's getting used to him, so she's kind of on edge sometimes. Go ahead. You can walk through. She's just coming through. Bloop. She's looking at me like I'm crazy. Sorry. Goodness. But yeah, I mean, look, Goblin Devs, M&M Beers. So he's working on the beards right here. This is a 5-hour stream. Oh, Lily, don't scratch. She's scratching my screen. She's jumping up and down. Lily, relax. You want to at least say hello into the mic? Okay. She's so silly. She actually likes being held. She just doesn't like it when I'm being so sloppy with it. Sorry. Relax. All right. But hey, if you don't like it when I do that, then I don't like it when you scratch my monitor. Thank you, Lily. Sheesh. But yeah, this is a lot of work. I mean, this is insane. So I was talking about the generative AI and stuff like that, and how they're doing everything by hand. Everything is hand painted. That's nuts.
Where like when you move your mouse or whatever, it just kind of hangs. There's this other game, Hammer Fight.
I want to go back to what Sean was talking about here.
We've been playing around with different ground textures and stuff.
Lily.
So one of the things that we want to do is we want to keep things relatively flat. We don't want to just paint in a bunch or have like a bunch of procedural grass and stuff.
Oh, okay. We were just talking about that.
But
don't do it.
You know, have areas where there'll be some tufts of grass here and there to remind you that this is grass. We're assuming you guys are okay with that, right? And this gives us a little, is this sand or snow? Let me come over here and look. All right, it's more sandy. Nice. Cool with grass as long as you can smoke it. Right on.
All right, let me fast forward a bit.
Off into a zone on the other side that you'll be seeing, and then that will transition into something that looks, well,
I want to hear this part.
We've got our desert areas, and we're going to be working north. And as we work north, we'll be moving into the Elven lands.
Nice.
And so that will require us to transition from desert over into an interesting savanna that's been tainted with some magic, so it'll have a really unique color. It'll be a very uniquely colored zone within. If you've been in our playtest, or if you've watched me run around in Glass Flats or Dragon's Run or any of those, you'll see these massive red sand dunes. And those red sand dunes have been tainted by some pretty bad magic, and that has bled off into a zone on the other side that you'll be seeing, and then that will transition into something that looks, well, now that Monty's made it look a lot like this, and then it'll move into It'll move into forests, which I don't think it's in here yet. But our dear Bilth has been working on some forest stuff, so
That's really cool. Yeah, I'm excited for the forest
Night
stuff.
Harbor, and you're looking out across. Look at that giant forest in the distance, right? And so the feel that we
That's this is my favorite concept art so far. Yeah, when I saw this, I got very excited. There's something else I was looking at, and if I can find it, I'll be really happy right now. Nope, I digress. I want to look at this.
We have with like when you're in Night Harbor and you're looking out across shaded dunes and you're seeing Fallen Watch out there, and I'll load shaded dunes instead, just because it'll load faster than Night Harbor. Well, we have Treants. We are bound to have Treants. So like all the zones got their fog. All their zones got their fog messed up. So now you can't really see it in the distance. We'll fix this. Let me fire this off. So my point is nullified. I can fix this temporarily. Oh geez. Oh geez.
Yeah, the nighttime looks
I'm
amazing.
gonna get hungry again. Yeah. Which do you feel is better? Like, which would be better, Nick? The best pho you have ever had, or the best ramen? That's tough when you were requesting we go to ramen today. Yeah, that's the thing, man. Like, because ramen just got... There's just some incredible flavors that you can get with ramen. Man, I'm trying... A red team, dude.
Oh, is that a dragon? It sure is.
So I was in here checking something earlier, Zukin. And white beard and the scowl, and I thought it was a red hat, and I was like, oh, that is for sure my dad. It's like Willow mixed with D&D, mixed with EQ, mixed with Dragon Egg, mixed with... What is? What would 3 moons do to the tide, actually? Oh, it'd be a shit show. Let's not get into fantasy physics, Goblin. Let's not do that. So I was in here checking something earlier, Zukin, and hit this, and this guy popped up on me, and I was like, "Oh shit!"
I'll be right back for 1 second.
Literally jumped a little bit. Warm Dragon Booty, one of my favorite videos. Night Harbor has it under control for obvious reasons, but constant tsunami zone win. Oh, we gotta add it to the list. We've got a big list. So we have a safe word in here, Darden. Our safe word is pineapple. When you see a pineapple in chat, you need to desist from going the direction that you are headed in.
All right, I'm back.
Pineapples mean you're a swinger? Really?
Yes. It's
UK
actually
Rats,
true.
is that truth?
It's the truth. In Florida, you see a lot of that stuff. And those little washcloths. What do you call them? Washcloth, Florida. What do you call it? No, wash. It's like a wash bun. Oh gosh, what do you call those little fluffy wash things? Anyways, yeah, what he just said is yes, that's what it means. All right, I'm not gonna go into it.
Banana on pizza is pretty good. Not gonna. Nicodemus is a Southern gentleman. You don't need to infect his ears with.
All right, yeah, I really love this. Is coming together so nicely. I love. So one of my complaints, it wasn't a complaint. It was just super early development. But during the playtest and character creation, I really wanted to see more depth in the eyes, and my personal feedback. Let me go to the Monsters and Memories website, and this is official feedback. I want the Monsters and Memories team to hear. And my opinion doesn't matter. I get it. Even though that's not true. I shouldn't be so negative. For me personally, I'm like for the Wood Elves, where are the Wood Elves? Just having the black eyes. Let me see if I can find some screenshots. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of just having blank black glossy eyes for my Wood Elf. I'm telling you right now, I'm gonna be a Wood Elf, right? I'm gonna be Mr. Legolas running around with my little bow or my little druid. That's gonna be my first character, and I want actual eyes. I want pupils, and I want to have color, and that's just my feedback on the elves. I hope that they don't have those dark eyes. Let me see if I could find a Wood Elf screenshot. And again, things are subject to change, but like here's an example, right? And this is not an elf, but the ogre. You see how the eyes are black and they just have a little light on them? It's kind of how it is with the Wood Elves I saw. That was a cool screenshot. The skeletons and the animations for the skeletons are super awesome. I don't think I'll find it. But maybe it was just the concept art, really. Let me see if I can find another. Again, this is just my feedback. This is just my theory crafting / wish list. I don't like. I want there to be color in the eyes. I found the video I was looking for. So I think anyone that's curious about Pantheon. So I'm switching subjects right now. Anyone that's interested in Pantheon should look up this video, the saga of Pantheon, Rise of the Fawn's development thus far. I think this is it. It's by Basgrim TV. He oh my gosh, Lily. Goodness. Go use the potty. Oh, good. Whew. My cat just let one out, and Lily, can you go use the potty, please? Upstairs? Hold on. I got to make sure she didn't leave me a present, because that was strong. Nope, that's just gas. Goodness gracious, what did she eat? Whew. All right. I just got a husky, and I got to say, one of the things that surprised me about having the dog over the cat is my dog, like obviously the fur and everything, and when he gets wet, it stinks. But when it comes to going potty, my cat Lily, she takes the cake for stinkiness. Sheesh. All right. So anyways, what I was saying is I'm kind of jumping around here, but this is the video I was talking about. This is an older video from 2 years ago. Basgrim, he goes through the entire development cycle. So, one of the memes about Pantheon, Rise of the Fallen, is that it's been in development for 10 years. It's a scam, yada, yada, yada. I mean, I've followed this project since Brad McQuaid announced it. It's not a scam, or at least it didn't start as a scam, and I don't believe it's a scam today. I just think that it's a game that was not, it's I mean, okay, I don't want to say it was even mismanaged. I mean, again, I said this a few minutes ago, but the lead, I mean, you're looking at him right now, the person that started this project passed away, and in a normal world, it would derail the whole project. But let me just play this video. It's 20 minutes. I don't know if we'll get through the whole thing. I do recommend you watch it on your own time. I do think it is very accurate in for anyone that is interested in Pantheon or the Rise of the Fallen, that's curious about where this project started, should take a look at this. But if you are just hearing about Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, I actually think maybe you shouldn't watch anything from the past and just treat it as day zero. Like if you just came across that project, don't worry about what's been going on for 10 years. Worry about its current state. And if it's a project that you are interested in, don't donate. Don't give your money away to a Kickstarter, or, game. Just support it. And then if you ever do decide that you want to get invested into a project such as Monsters and Memories, Pantheon, Rise of the Fallen, do it once you decide that this is something worth your time, But just calling a random everything a scam is foolishness. Star Citizen, I recently tried it, or it's been called Scam Citizen. I tried it. I had a blast, and I still have a blast. I log in occasionally. I mean, it's ultra realistic. So I'm going to play this and shut up. I don't know why I just said all that random stuff. I do want to play this video. And it would help if I unmuted the tab.
Word out about Pantheon. But either way, I'd love to hear your comments below on whether or not...
Oh, gosh. All right, so before I hit play on this, like I said, this is a very good video summarizing development of Pantheon from the very beginning. So after watching this, then you can truly say, oh yeah, that game's been in development for 10 years, and you can actually know what you're talking about.
It's no secret that Pantheon Rise of the Fallen has been on the radar of MMO fans for a long time now. But despite being in the public eye, there still seems to be a lot of mystery about its current state and exactly how it got to where it is. Until now. As with anything else, when talking about Pantheon's development, it's important to have a thorough understanding of the context. And not only is there a lot of context, but it's not always easy to find. I've been following the game closely since 2016, but I've still had to do a lot of research to see the whole picture. And I'd like to thank my friend Radeon, who helped me fact check this video, as he is one of the game's original day one supporters and has been tracking it ever since. And I'll cite my sources as I go if you want to dig deeper on your own. So join me as we go all the way back to the beginning. In September 2013, Vision Realms was founded by video game industry veteran Brad McQuaid, along with 9 of his friends and colleagues from previous games. Their mission was to go against the grain of the genre and create an intensely challenging and social MMORPG called Pantheon Rise of the Fallen.
They're literally inside of his garage. I love it. I love it. I remember that.
But they had almost no money. So needless to say, they needed to acquire some. And there were a couple of different options to go about this. Brad McQuaid's previous game, Vanguard Saga of Heroes, suffered a cripplingly buggy launch because, according to him, its publishers pushed the developers to release the game before it was really ready.
Yeah, and some context about the original EverQuest. The original EverQuest was developed by hundreds of people, and there's a good video on that too, and I'm going to have to find it another time. But the amount of money that was poured into the original EverQuest and the amount of people that worked on it is staggering. So when you hear people say like they want to create an MMO and they're in a garage like that, yeah, obviously there's going to be challenges, and let's just keep watching.
This was still fresh in Brad's memory, and he was determined to not let it happen again. Even though seeking full funding from a publisher right off the bat is the traditional and more familiar method of MMO development, he didn't want to risk landing in that same situation again, being pressured to make decisions he didn't want to make, and ultimately succumbing to the same pitfalls as Vanguard. So with Pantheon, he opted to try something he had never done before.
Yep. That's one of the original ones right there.
By primarily crowdfunding the project on Kickstarter. Over the next 4 months, the team put together some lore and concept art and used the Unity engine with pre-made Unity Store art assets to record some short demo clips for the Kickstarter campaign. Because Vision Realms still had almost no money at this point, the team was working out of raw passion and without a paycheck. In his blog, Brad described the team's contingency plans depending on how much funding they acquired from the Kickstarter campaign. The Kickstarter goal was set at $800,000, which, according to the plan, would allow them to at least get an office space, pay for full-time developers, and then create an actual prototype that could be used to continue crowdfunding from their own website. The idea was that this would then attract investors and publishers to secure the rest of the funding they needed. If the Kickstarter was successful according to this plan, they predicted they could potentially launch as early as 2017. Well, the campaign began in January 2014, but at the end of the 30 days, pledges fell short, raising a little over $460,000 from over 3,100 different backers. And according to Kickstarter's terms, because the campaign didn't meet its minimum goal, Visionary Realms did not receive any of that money. Critics of the campaign mainly noted the lack of actual gameplay information. The team said they had...
So that was the one of the first pitfalls. That stupid Kickstarter campaign. I mean, I still don't get that. How you can have 400,000 people donate, and because you don't reach the original goal for Kickstarter, just be like, ooh, sorry about that, pal. You don't get a dime. That's a very scummy thing to do.
Originally hoped to use a more community-centric approach and leverage the feedback from Kickstarter backers to flesh out their design ideas and make a game their audience wanted. So really, all the team had done thus far was come up with ideas and design philosophies such as open-world exploration, tactical and cooperative combat, and high-risk, high-reward decisions. They still had no money and no game. Brad acknowledged that while he knew a lot about MMOs, he nor anyone else on the team at the time knew much about how to effectively market a Kickstarter campaign, and admitted they probably announced it too early. However, he also noted that the fact that over 3,000 people were already willing to pledge...
Yeah, so that's another thing about Pantheon, Rise of the Fallen, and Brad McQuaid. He's a visionary, right? And EverQuest came out of nowhere, right? I mean, it was being worked on in a studio, professional studio with hundreds of people. And when it got released, it got released. No, there was no pre-alpha type of stuff that you see today and getting behind the scenes look at development. It was released and hit the markets as a polished, finished project. The fact that we see so much of the game development today is a blessing and a curse. Let me fix this. And they did kind of jump the gun in announcing this, and it's part of just who Brad was. He was excited, he was passionate, he had a vision, and he wanted to share the vision with the world. And yeah, kind of like too soon, you know.
To little more than an idea, indicated that there would in fact be enough of an audience for this type of game to pursue it further. So the team immediately launched their own website, pantheonmorpg.com, and began their own crowdfunding efforts from scratch. However, only 2 months later, in April 2014, Brad announced that progress would need to be halted since the team had still not been properly paid yet. So before long, nearly every single person left the project to pursue other ventures.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, for a project like this, you really you got to have people that have a passion for it. What was that original not Morrowind, but yeah, like Morrowind. Hold on. Morrowind remake. Skywind. Okay, Skywind. Right? This project is a passion project with people that basically modded Elder Scrolls, Skyrim, and let me just, they're volunteering their time to basically recreate every asset from scratch, right? And people volunteer. I would love to see the ability for more volunteering for projects like this, you know. like Monsters and Memories, I would love to see. I would love to volunteer. I mean, I'm not a great designer and I don't know a lot of stuff. And maybe I'm a bad candidate, but I'm sure there's tons of passionate EverQuest fans that play Project Quarm, play P99 Green. If they were allowed to volunteer some of their personal time, that it would speed up the development of Monsters and Memories, right? And I think the development of Pantheon Rise of the Fallen was trying to be a little bit too traditional and, you know, an office space. But remember, this is pre-COVID, right? So what did people do pre-COVID? They'd buy an office space. They'd give people a salary. And this would be your full-time job, developing a game. And okay, maybe I sound a little foolish and naive. It's like, yeah, dude, you got to feed your family and you don't have time to play video games or build a video game for free. I get that. But if you can admit that, okay, we're starting in a garage with $6,000, like we just watched a moment ago, then you set some realistic expectations. You're not going to develop a huge MMO on the scale of EverQuest out of a garage. It's just not going to happen. Not with the technology that we had back then. Unity was very clunky back then. It's gotten so much better, right? And then, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, we have generative AI now and all this other stuff. But to do that back in 2014 it was kind of naive to think you could build a massive MMO out of a garage. So I digress.
Many people assumed that the Fallen could not rise, and the Pantheon project would just fizzle out there. But Brad McQuaid was nothing if not persistent, and 1 month later, in April 2014, he began recruiting friends and acquaintances to try to push the project forward once again on a volunteer basis.
Yeah,
Still
that makes more sense.
Using nothing but pre-made Unity Store assets, they managed to put together a rough proof of concept for a couple zones to be shown in demo videos like these in an attempt to secure funding that could be used to take the project to the next level. But with a small volunteer team and a shoestring budget, it was difficult to make any sort of meaningful progress. Many people associate Brad McQuaid's name with big AAA studio productions like EverQuest and Vanguard. And while that reputation drew more attention to Pantheon, it was, at this point, a hobbyist project by all definitions.
Yeah.
Despite the fancy titles that team members were given, very few people on the outside were impressed. For example, this is a piece of quote-unquote official concept art that was...
Yeah, that's not EverQuest. And that's what Monsters and Memories is. I feel like concept art is super important. You see that right there? Hold on, let me make the screen big. That's what I call concept art. From the original EverQuest manual. I mean, the concept art from EverQuest is freaking sick. And to be honest, I'm very judgmental. Like if I see a game developing that claims to be an MMO and their concept art sucks, I'm like, the game probably sucks. And I'm pleased to say Monsters and Memories, and by the way, I'm not saying, oh yeah, this makes it Pantheon suck. No. But yeah, this is a good example of that's not concept art. It's going to be hard to create a vision if that's what you see your game as on paper. Pantheon Rise of the Fallen has some good concept art, but illustrations. Let me go back to this. Yeah, these are, look at this. Like you know what I'm saying? Like it feels like a world. The art was amazing and is why I started drawing. Heck yeah. Yeah, that's from Zenhammer. I couldn't agree more. I remember, and you probably remember this too. You had this original manual, right? Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Sorry. Okay. So this is a joke, right? You don't develop a game off of that. This, hold on, let me go back. So this is a joke. And this is awesome. Right? That's awesome. Concept art, like even the maps. And then this is also awesome. Right? What Monsters and Memories is doing, like this is timeless. This is permanent, right? Once Monsters and Memories releases, we're going to forever remember this image. It has character, it has depth. And you see how these orcs, the way they look? And this is, oh, I'm glad that I'm looping all this together right now. You see how they look right there? You fast forward. Hold on, I'm getting there. Fast forward to a video like this, and you start to see, there's the concept art, and now here we are, bringing the concept art to life. Boom. You see what I mean? From concept art to reality. That is the beauty of good concept art and why it is critical. And I believe that might be one of the biggest things about development, because if you put your passion into something like this and you feel the sense and meaning and power behind it, when you start developing the game, you know the feeling that you're going after. There's a feeling that you're trying to achieve in the game, and you're trying to translate a picture into that feeling. So, I mean, look at this. I never noticed this, but look at the trees in the background and the dead spider. This looks like could be a something along the lines of, where's the other picture with the trees? I was talking about Kelethin. Oh, like this. Freaking Kelethin. Let's go. Yes. Take this concept art and turn it into what I think it's going to be. This is absolutely phenomenal. I could sit here and for the rest of the stream just talk about only this. And actually, this is what I was looking for earlier. So, Monsters and Memories, if you guys are listening, the one thing I was concerned about is for my Wood Elves, please, 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 as far as the eyes are concerned, I want to have a pupil. I want to have a pupil, and like I get like Morrowind and Elder Scrolls, they have these black little ant eyes. I personally am not a fan of that. I'm more of a traditional Lord of the Rings, green-eyed, blue-eyed, wood elf type of person. And I don't want to insult your vision. I think this looks great, and I'll get used to it. But I do like just the traditional, I'll show you what I mean. The traditional EverQuest wood elf. Let me show you what I'm talking about. You see that? This is from my latest video, but just a regular wood elf, you know, little corny wood elf with his pretty little eyes, trying to look all like Legolas. Versus these eyes, you know, it's fine, right? I'm not trying to insult the art. I think the art is phenomenal, and I respect the vision. So I want to be very careful on how I provide my feedback. But that's all it is. It's just feedback. It's just one thing that stood out to me, and I figured I'd get it off my chest. But also, I think that a lot of this is just concept art. So, I mean, the human doesn't have any pupils, right? This could just be concept, right? So, I love this picture, by the way. This has your monk, your beastmaster, shaman, spellblade, elementalist, enchanter, druid, necromancer, wizard, bard, rogue, archer, ranger, shadow knight, inquisitor, fighter, cleric, paladin. Man, if I was an investor, man, I'd give them all my money right now just so they can hurry up and make this game. like I said, concept art means so much, and I'm gonna go back to the other video, but this is a vision. They have a vision. This is passion. This is beauty. This is old school Dungeons and Dragons. This is me sitting with my buddies and looking through the Dungeons and Dragons book where it has like all the monsters. I remember doing that as a kid in the 90s. I'm getting stoked and excited looking at this, so I'm gonna be quiet. But yeah, this is not concept art. This is a joke.
Was released during the poll. Members were given, very few people on the outside were impressed. For example, this is a piece of quote-unquote official concept art that was released during this time. You could say it was a lack of funding that prevented the project from gaining any real traction, and you'd be right. But ultimately, one of the main reasons it struggled to gain any real funding was its lack of organized business leadership. Brad said his strengths were in development.
Just in Pantheon's defense, their concept art has gotten much better, especially with the controversial change in graphics. One view from Saudi Arabia, baby. That's awesome. What's up, Abadi? Yeah, I feel like the concept art has gotten much better for these guys. Going back to what I was just talking about, Monsters and Memories having good concept art, and I think Pantheon Rise of the Fallen also needs to focus on their concept art, because if they have a vision and they want to translate it into their new graphics engine, perfect. But the important thing is having a vision, right? And that's what concept art does. Yeah, I mean, and to be frank, I always thought they did a good job, like in recent years with their concept art. Like I really love this concept art that they did here. I mean, I'm very, very impressed with the concept art that they did here, and this does carry over vision, and you can see how they're explaining everything that they did. And obviously, there's a new graphics style that's less realistic and more like a painted art style. And this, I think, would translate very well with that. So I keep saying these things because I want to be clear. I'm not trying to bash the project, but I am being critical of, this is what we've been going through for 10 years, and they had a rough start, a rough middle. Then Brad McQuaid passed away, and then COVID happened, right? And now we are in 2023, but we're finally being able to get into the game in pre-alpha and alpha. Pre-alphas can play whenever they want, but you have to pledge like $750 if you want to be part of pre-alpha. And then alphas, which pledge $250, which is the same amount of money as what's that other game? Hold on one sec. All right. Anyways, I'm going to press play.
Developing the game itself, not running an entire company. So, at the end of 2014 into 2015, the team underwent a major shakeup. Chris Rowan, the former GM of International Business Development at Sony in Tokyo, who helped launch the PlayStation 1, and also a longtime friend of Brad, now became the CEO of Vision Realms to manage the company as a whole. He then recruited Tim Sullivan, a veteran financial expert, as the chief financial officer to get the company's finances under control. Chris Perkins, who had been hired as a composer, was promoted to creative director since, according to Brad, he had demonstrated an extremely detailed vision for Pantheon that aligned with Brad's overarching goals as the chief creative officer.
So, let's go back for a second. otherwise known as Joppa, right? This guy, he's the one that currently leads the project. And I think what
as a composer was promoted.
Chris Perkins, aka Joppa, was promoted to creative director.
Since
he, after Brad McQuaid passed, took over the project, right? But if you listen to what Basgrim says next, there's a reason why he became who he became, and that's because he basically got Brad McQuaid's blessing. Like he aligned with his vision, right? So again, as much as it's hard to lose the visionary behind Visionary, the development team's called Visionary Realms. Well, what a coincidence. But to lose the visionary of a project is hard enough, right? But then to fill that person's shoes is a very difficult role to fill. And that's what Chris Perkins basically did. He said, we're not going to shut the project down, even though we're not making money, right? We're going to keep going. And I think where they're at right now in 2023, if you look at it through the lens of, COVID happened, Brad McQuaid passed away before that, and all the rockiness that has happened, in my viewpoint, I pretty much hit the reset button for Pantheon Rise of the Fallen in 2020. So in from that vantage point, okay, the game's been in development for 3 years. They changed the graphics art style. They changed a whole other bunch of stuff. I think they're making decisions for what can we do to actually make this game a reality, right? And I think now we're finally getting to a point where they're making decisions in a more managed type of fashion. They still need a lot of help with PR. If anyone from Pantheon Rise of the Fallen is listening, you guys need to work on your PR skills. But I'm no better than you guys are, so I'm not trying to be judgmental, right? There's a lot of flaws, and I suck at a lot of things too, right? It's just not, my strong suit is not singing, for example. Your PR can use some work, just saying.
According to Brad, he had demonstrated an extremely detailed vision for Pantheon that aligned with Brad's overarching goals as the chief creative officer. Soon after, Justin Gerhardt was brought on as the lead writer to hone the game's lore, and several other positions changed hands as well. With this fresh slate of new leadership, they decided to also get a fresh slate of a new game. It was evident that what the team had previously come up with was just not catching on, so throughout early 2015, 80 to 90% of the game's design was scrapped.
Yep,
while the game and core design philosophies Brad had laid out remained the same, this team, under the new creative direction of Chris Perkins, spent the next several months overhauling the game's maps, systems.
Yeah, I was excited when I saw this, because this reminded me immediately of Fadeware, and this is more like Antonica or something like that. So, Lily, what are you doing? My cat's... What? Lily. I don't know why my cat's running around, like, going nuts. Calm down, Lily.
Systems, races, classes, etc. into a more refined direction. As he explained, quote, I was asked by Brad to sit down with Pantheon's high-level design doc, the Vision, in 2015 and imbue my ideas into it.
Joppa,
it essentially
Chris
became
Perkins.
a co-vision at that point, and is where climates, atmospheres, artifacts, the perception system, dispositions, mastery, and climbing became part of Pantheon's vision. Since then, I've been working directly on how these things would actually manifest into gameplay, working on the actual design of the game, end quote. The concept of worlds colliding to form the planet Terminus was maintained in the lore, but other than that, almost all other details in the lore were also reimagined to fit this new design. Because creating custom art would be too slow and expensive for their tight budget, the decision was made to continue to use Unity Store art assets prominently, because, quote, this allows the world builders to lay out intricate and challenging dungeons without having to create art assets themselves or wait for a 3D modeler to create them, end quote.
Which, by the way, is very common in almost every game, to use pre-existing assets and then just replace them later.
The team deemed it necessary to quickly and easily playtest the mechanics in the game world itself, which would also give them something to showcase to fans and investors to secure much needed funding. According to Brad's blog, the plan was to revisit the art once they could afford to replace the Unity Store assets with homemade assets in, quote, the last year or so of development, end quote. Remember this because it'll be important later. But anyway, this is when early development began on the Pantheon that we know today. And it seemed to resonate with investors because in September 2015, it was announced that Vision Realms had acquired seed funding from a private investor for the first time. The developers were now able to be paid, though instead of working at a central physical office, almost all of them would continue to work remotely from around the world. This investment also allowed the team.
And that's funny because, you know, this is pre-COVID, right? And they were already just doing things remotely. So you can see there are some pioneers from that aspect.
To launch an official company website, visionrealms.com, as well as relaunch the game's website, now called pantheonmmo.com. This momentum carried the team to March 2016, when they streamed live gameplay of Pantheon on Twitch for the very first time. It was pretty well received, with over 8,000 people tuning in over the 90-minute broadcast. Throughout the rest of that year, they gradually continued to bring more of their designs into the game and broadcast a couple of hours of gameplay on Twitch every 3 to 6 months. Starting in December 2016, Carnage, a fan of the game and popular Twitch streamer, began inviting the developers to stream their gameplay updates on his channel, which brought awareness for the game to a much wider audience.
Yeah, Carnage did a really good job, and you know, if you're into EverQuest, Monsters and Memories, and you're a classic guy like that, and that's what this whole channel is about, Class&Cool, Classical, then you 100%, you know, one of us. He understands the vision, and when he played the game, it was like, yeah, this feels like what I remember from classic games like EverQuest, you know. So the core was there, you know. But let's continue.
These streams seem to further increase investor and backer confidence because in April 2017, Visionary Realms announced that they had reached Series A funding. Quote, Series A funding allows the company to expand the team in almost every department and bring the game into a semi-private pre-alpha state where external testers and focus groups can begin sampling the game, end quote. In October 2017, at TwitchCon, Visionary Realms announced that pre-alpha testing would begin before the end of the year. It did in December, and pre-alpha tests continued well into the following year, with hundreds of VIP backers at the time providing feedback and bug reports.
I remember
that. In April 2018, Brad McQuaid appeared as a guest on a panel at PAX East about community interaction in mmorpg.
I remember this phase, and they were really ramping up. I was at this stage of the project, I could see like that it's really coming together, right?
In that panel, he slipped in an impromptu comment that Pantheon
should be an alpha towards the end of the year.
He quickly clarified on Twitter that the emphasis was on should, and the game would only enter alpha when it's ready. Well, in August 2018, Vision Realms announced that they had officially, quote, restructured their approach to bring the game, quote, closer to launch quality in art and polish, end quote, before it could be considered ready for alpha. While probably nobody fully realized it at the time, in hindsight, this may have been for the better because it prevented thousands of alpha testers from being on board a train that was about to go off the rails.
Yeah.
By the end of 2018, Visionary Realms began working on what they called Project Fairthale, with the goal of, quote, bringing together the full Pantheon experience with all the systems, animations, models, sounds, and effects one would expect to see in a modern game, end quote. This would in theory be used to pitch the game more effectively to investors and publishers, as well as serve as a more polished launch pad for alpha. But it was later revealed that around the middle of 2019, partway through Project Fairthale, the team ran into a roadblock. Even though they had created some custom tools and art assets, their heavy reliance on hard coding and pre-made Unity Store assets had caught up to them. And
yeah, this is a huge issue with using pre-made store assets, is that if you become dependent on it, it's not just so this is a example of using store assets. This whole I recommend watching this video from Nuon. He goes over this game that supposedly was supposed to come out in January.
But if the entire game is made out of it, oof, there are some problems I have with it. So there's something together quickly.
So
but if,
listen.
Little disclaimer. I am not against using bought assets from stores. They're a good way to get something together quickly. But if the entire game is made out of it, oof, there are some problems I have with it.
Yeah, so the problem is that, like, let's say you make an entire game out of store-bought assets or just pre-existing assets. Let's say you want to have a art designer come in, and you're not going to match the original style, right? Or if you want to buy like another pack that doesn't, and it comes from a different developer, then it starts to mess up the art style. That's why I'm not a very big fan of Unreal Engine games. I feel like they all kind of look the same. And that's not to knock the Unreal Engine. I think it's great. It's revolutionary. It's phenomenal. It's ultra realistic. It's just that if that's all you're going for, then anyone could do that, right? If with the store-bought assets and the technology. The key is not to be ultra realistic. The key is to have your own style. And this is where Pantheon was kind of screwed, because they're using all these in Unity assets and not so much making their own. And I remember it's like, well, this looks nice, but it didn't feel like Pantheon or like, let's say, EverQuest, right? It didn't have its own identity. I can actually say it has more of its own identity now with the new graphics art style that it has than when like this. This actually starts to feel more like Pantheon. This cartoony looking, like the people make fun of it, say, "Oh, it's World of Warcraft." This is not World of Warcraft. I'm sorry. I kind of get World of Warcraft.com. Like I kind of get what they're saying, but no, it's not the same. World of Warcraft has a very distinct look. This does not look like World of Warcraft. Right. And again, I know there's a huge cult of trolls that hate this project and have been hating on it since day one. And I don't understand why they do that. But I think it's like the extreme, like too far left, too far right. You have the extreme trolls and the extreme fans, and being on either side is not too healthy. I've always been like a centrist when it comes to this kind of stuff. But let's get back in the video.
Backed them into a corner. As creative director Chris...
Yeah, so he said, using the pre-existing assets or store-bought assets, it would back them into a corner in the development. And it like really affected the server and how many players can be in one place at the same time, and just a whole slew of other issues.
Around the middle of 2019, partway through Project Fairsail, the team ran into a roadblock. Even though they had created some custom tools and art assets, their heavy reliance on hard coding and pre-made Unity Store assets had caught up to them and backed them into a corner. As creative director Chris Perkins later put it, quote, "When the majority of your game world is built using a smattering of different art assets from different authors, with different rendering pipelines, poly budgets, art styles, etc., you end up with a world that cannot be woven together system-wise to be a performant game," end quote.
That fact that a developer is saying this about his own game and is so bringing up to reality, I mean, we don't give these people enough credit, yet people want to just call it a scam, you know? But I digress.
In simpler terms, while Pantheon may have appeared to be nearing completion from the outside, the foundation below was not built to last. The game had reached its breaking point and required major surgery if it was to move forward. All of Pantheon's lore, design plans, and in-house art would remain the same since they had already been fleshed out. But the code and placeholder art assets needed to be overhauled to properly support a full-scale MMO. Chris Perkins later commented, quote, "The game was woefully broken with no real way out. We were headed straight for Vanguard 2.0. We did what we had to do to not repeat history," end quote. In October...
Again, very brave thing to say about your own game, right? not a lot of developers have that kind of self-awareness, and this is also where you can say that they kind of shoot themselves in the foot, because I feel like Visionary Realms has always been very transparent with its following, and like they'll create a hype train, then they'll derail that train with their own honesty, you know. And this is one of the problems with game development these days, of being so public and involving people, the layman like us, is that, you know, they hype us up, we follow the project, we have these crazy expectations, and when those expectations are met, we quickly shift. And I say this, and I've used this analogy. Imagine if somebody did that to you at work. You hype yourself up on your resume, you start working, you do well for the first year, then you have some kind of event, a family event, that causes you to kind of back away from focusing on work and focus more on family. And all of a sudden, everyone's critical of you. It's like, what happened to you, man? It's like, we thought you were worth it. They don't care about your accolades over the past 12 months when you were doing well. All they're focusing on is how terrible you're doing now. Versus if they actually respect you as a person and say, hey, what's going on behind the scenes? Is there anything we can do to help you? Right? And not just jump into conclusions and judgment. That's how I look at this team. I don't judge them for their past mistakes. I applaud their transparency and self-awareness. But there's definitely a lot of work that needed to be done. At 2020, the game was starting to go plummet, you know? So anyways.
2019, it was announced that Daniel Kren, the lead programmer, had left the company and was replaced by Kyle Olson, a specialist with 15 years of experience in the Unity engine. He dug into Pantheon's codebase and started devising a plan to rebuild it from the ground up. But things would get worse before they got better.
Yeah, this is the moment.
A short time later, Brad McQuaid tragically passed away at the age of 50 on November 18th, 2019.
So, EverQuest was the first MMO I ever played back in 1999. I was 13 years old. And I don't, you know, I remember when Michael Jackson died. I remember when Kurt Cobain died. I remember when, you know, all these famous stars passed away, musicians and actors and all this other stuff. I have never cried or shed a tear for any one person in the industry of filmmaking or gaming or anything. But when Brad McQuaid died, it was so unreal to me, and it hit me kind of in the core, because so much of my childhood was affected by this man's vision and EverQuest, and I have like nostalgic memories of running as a 13-year-old and 14 and 15-year-old through these forests and spending time after school and excited and reading through the manual. Like whenever the server was down, I'd be reading the manual or the logging into the tutorial world, right? Because back then we had like AOL and Net Zero and other 56K modem stuff. When Brad McQuaid passed, I'm not gonna lie, I literally I shed a tear, and it like got chills, because it felt like a chapter of my life had just ended. Very, very like corny, and I'm not trying to be over dramatic. I'm just trying to paint a picture of how it felt. It was a very dark moment, because I felt like a piece of my childhood died when he passed. So
Visionary Realms released a statement saying, quote, "While we are deeply shaken and saddened, we are also unified in the design, direction, tenets, and goals of Pantheon Rise of the Fallen as development advances. Visionary Realms is even more resolved to complete the vision he set out to create," end quote. This was a dark time for Pantheon's team and community, but by channeling what can only be described as Brad's relentless determination, the project pressed forward.
Yeah. That's crazy, the fact that they even decided to keep going after that, because
While Brad was perhaps most known for holding the title of Chief Creative Officer, he was also a producer responsible for overseeing Pantheon's development process, timelines, etc. His death left a gap in the Vision Realms hierarchy at a critical time. In January 2020, Chris Perkins, who as you'll remember has been the creative director since 2015, now stepped into the additional role of creative and programming producer, which means he, quote, manages the overall development effort by identifying priorities, establishing production milestones, and directing the daily programming and creative tasks to meet those deliveries, end quote. And with that, he gave the green light to refactor Pantheon.
All right. I need to take a quick bio break, so I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. That's some creepy music playing. Oh my goodness. So my dog was calling for me. I got a new puppy. And yeah, I'm back now. Sorry about that. My dog was calling for me, my cat was calling for me. I got a zoo in my house right now. Alright. Alright, let's get back into what we were watching.
Team's 3 programmers, under the guidance of their new lead programmer Kyle, began restructuring the codebase for long-term sustainability and replaced Unity Store art assets with flexible gray boxing and custom assets. Jimmy Lane, who became the senior environment artist in 2019, later acquired a license for Houdini and began using it to rapidly transform those new gray box zones into procedurally polished terrain. In September 2020, pre-alpha testers were brought back in to provide feedback and bug reports for the new build. By the end of that year, in just a 12-month time frame, they had completely transformed their broken game into a playable game with the core systems in place, thus reaching a goal they had previously never been able to. The developers dubbed this new version the Evaluation Build, for the purpose of allowing investors and publishers to experience Pantheon firsthand in a holistic way. In other words, for the first time, Vision Realms can actually show, rather than mostly tell, what Pantheon is really about. And even better, it actually runs smoothly and is fully scalable. These things, of course, should make it a lot easier for the devs to negotiate the funding they'll need for the game to reach its fullest potential. And so far, it seems to be working. In January 2021, Vision Realms announced that they had received a 7-figure private investment. While they clarified that this doesn't constitute full funding, they did say, quote, "The studio plans to use the funds to continue the game's development and begin preparations to support over 8,000 players already signed up for an alpha release of the game," end quote. Project producer Ben Dean took this opportunity to reaffirm Vision Realms' commitment to acquiring crucial investments while still preserving the original vision for Pantheon. Quote, "We've said it before and we'll say it again. We have turned down offers that would have provided us full funding but required us to give up creative control. We're not interested in selling out like that. We are all in this to make the game we have been wanting for decades. So no, we will always be in control of the decisions."
Okay. Again, this is why this video is so valuable, because you got to see what it was in 2013, 14, 15, all the way to the point where Brad McQuaid passed away, and you see like they've declined offers from major companies because they want to actually create a project. Think about it logically, right? You have a family, you have kids, you have responsibilities, you have dreams and goals and visions, monetary dreams. You want to buy that new car, a new house. You want to live comfortably, right? You could easily say that, man, I don't want to spend my whole life playing this game. Meanwhile, we have all these people commenting all this terrible stuff about us and our development, right? Let's just sell the damn project to someone that wants to take over it, right? We'll have the funding, we'll do this. No, instead of that, they're stubbornly pushing the project forward. If that's not passionate and actually wanting to make a vision come to pass, then I don't know how you could possibly call that a scam. So just to reiterate, like, if anyone ever calls the game a scam, make them watch this video, and if they still call it a scam afterwards, it says a lot more about them than it does about anything else.
It is the entire point behind the company and the game. Add to that, every single one of our investors has the same values. We simply do not partner when it is not a fit. We won't give up those core principles," end quote. In March 2021, Vision Realms took the step of publicly sharing their alpha to-do list for the first time, suggesting that now, with their higher caliber tools and talent, as well as the additional funding, they finally have a viable way to get the game truly ready for the next phase and beyond. They further explained how they've observed that as the industry moves further away from traditional utilitarian alpha tests and more toward early access models, players' expectations for what condition an MMO and alpha should be in have increased, and how the word of mouth from those first impressions can impact a game's reputation. a lot has been building up to Pantheon's alpha.
Alright, I gotta let my dog out in 2 seconds. Keep going back and forth, but hey, he's a puppy. Whatever.
And it will no doubt be rightfully met with many critical eyes, both from hands-on testers and from viewers watching from a distance. Vision Realms sees an opportunity to capitalize on that attention to get the momentum boost they need, because while they've come a long way from their humble beginnings, there's still quite a bit left to be done. Toward the end of 2020, Pantheon explained their contingency plans for how to get from here to launch day. Quote, "We are currently prepared to launch the game with the current velocity of crowdfunding. In that scenario, it means a much longer development cycle and launching without all the features, graphic fidelity, and content we would like, but it is spec'd out and planned. In the ideal situation, which is what we aim for, funding increases whether by investment, partner deals, or an increase in crowdfunding, and then a bigger, fuller game launches much sooner. The only doomsday scenario is if crowdfunding stops, and we have no reason to believe that will happen as long as we are able to earn it by showing our progress," end quote. The aim to accelerate funding might explain why Vision Realms has gone to such lengths to ensure Alpha is a resounding success. So when the day does finally come, and it's opened up to the many people who have been anxiously waiting, Pantheon can put its best foot forward. I hope you learned something from all of this. If you've been following the game for a while, you may be able to think of some details, both good and bad, that I didn't include. But for the sake of being concise, I decided to stick to the main events that have shaped the development path of Pantheon. Hopefully that makes it easier to get a better perspective as to how far the project has come and the ups and downs that have occurred along the way. Making a full-scale MMORPG is one of the hardest things you can do in game development. Even big AAA studios often struggle with it. So the fact that Vision Realms has started from scratch, fueled primarily by public crowdfunding, made mistakes, and is still moving forward is kind of miraculous in a way. In that sense, it seems like Rise of the Fallen couldn't be a more accurate name. And remember, if you don't want to miss out on any of Pantheon's development moving forward, hit the subscribe button now because that's exactly what we do here.
So you see how they had this ultra-realistic, not ultra-realistic, but they were going for a realistic look, and then they changed their art style. And I showed some of their concept art, right? So we talked about Monsters and Memories having phenomenal concept art, right? Like their concept art and translating it into the game is working phenomenally for them. Now take a look at their concept art, right? Well, actually, let's just hop right into the video. So we watched all this, and now let's look at what is happening. Why am I not subscribed to him? This is my buddy. Subscribe. All right. Let's watch this. This is Pantheon Rise of the Fallen as of 12 days ago. This is B-roll footage. This footage was captured during Pantheon's Content Creator Week in December 2023. It is generally unfiltered. Darn it. It is generally unfiltered ambient shots, simply meant to show the current state of the game as it was during this time, as a snapshot to compare progress in the past and future. Other content creators are free to use this B-roll to make their own Pantheon content if they'd like. Without this disclaimer intro, I just ask that they give context and credit for the footage. For everyone else, please enjoy. For everyone else, please enjoy. So I'm going to just hop back over here and just pause right there. And just to kind of give you some, like, let's freeze for a second and just think about the ambience, the sounds, right? The footsteps, the wind, the ambient music, the wolves in the background, right? The horse noise, and then the lighting, right? Now, take the original concept of EverQuest, superimpose it on this, right? You can see that the game is alive and well if you look at it through the lens and the scope that it's only been in development for 3 years. Because if you watch that whole video with me that we just watched, right, with the context of what that game went through, and stop calling stop saying it's been in development for 10 years, right? Valheim was, did you know Valheim, that game that everybody loved, it was in development for 10 years? But it was officially announced like 3 years before it was released, like officially, as in like you could actually follow that project. That game, Valheim, started in a college dorm or something like that. I'm butchering the story, but the point is, look at this compared to everything you saw previously. A lot of this is original assets and original artwork, and they're building it finally based off of the concept art, which is what I feel is a key thing. This is what Monsters and Memories is doing, in the sense that they have concept art, they have an idea, they have a vision, and they're taking concept art and bringing it to life. A lot of the concept art that you see in the EverQuest manual is concept art that was brought to life. But I digress. Let me hit play and be quiet. Oops. One thing I love about these games, and what I love about EverQuest, is first-person view. I'm not a third-person kind of guy. I think it's good for situational awareness when you play an MMO, but if you can't zoom in all the way and just having a first-person experience to really immerse yourself with the character, it definitely breaks immersion for me. So I love seeing this. And you can see the darkness. Yeah, like, that looks really cool right there. You go around that corner, you see the light, and then if that's your first time running into that, it's just it makes you want to go discover that. Keep in mind that all of this is like climbable, so the game does have a climbing mechanic, but yeah, they've definitely come a long way since 2020. And the new art style is definitely starting to grow on me because it has its own kind of identity now. It didn't have that before. This actually reminds me, okay, and again, you know, people were calling the new art style, like, I didn't sign up for Warcraft. Like, so the reference I'm about to make has nothing to do with graphics, but in the original World of Warcraft, the WoW Classic, I remember there was a tunnel like this that went through a mountain, and it would cut you over to another part of Warcraft, and I don't remember what the place is called. If somebody remembers in the chat, feel free to like add it or comment later. But this is pretty cool. I'm not sure if this is a tunnel that goes through the mountain, like a passage, or if it's a dungeon or what it is, but we're about to find out, I think. But yeah, this is good progress. I mean, again, I'm not going to hold my breath for the game, but gotta give them credit for what they've accomplished so far. Oh, another player. And by the way, I don't... If they were to say we're gonna really let alpha pledgers play right now, you know, on a regular basis, not like an event style base, but like daily, $250 for a grown man is I'm sorry, but it's not a big deal. Split that up in like 4 payments. And if it helps speed up development, I say why not. Again, that's my personal opinion. You can take your opinion and run with it. As a person that has seen this project since 2014, and now I'm seeing this, I feel like this is an actual playable game now. Because the core mechanics are working, the battling, the crafting, the spell casting. You know, Embers Adrift is a great game, but for example, they released the game and then they released Magic, like what, six months later, right? Because and they tied it into the lore of why Magic was released later, but in reality, it just wasn't done yet. They released Embers Adrift before the Magic system was finished, and when it got finished, they released it through the in-game lore, right? So, I'm just saying they've come a long way, and they're doing a lot more. They got to work on the animations, and that's one of the last things in development, by the way. So I don't expect that to be done. I don't expect that to be done till like, you know, maybe another year or two or closer to beta. But also like they got to work on the facial textures. Like look at that wolf right there as they run past it. Like I feel like it blends perfectly with the art style. Again, I'm not fully sold on the graphics, but it's not. This, in my opinion, this is better than what they had before. The fact that they were trying to go for that realistic look, it didn't have an identity, right? This is more of a memorable identity, and if you look at the concept art for this, it's translating concept art into game, and that's the way it should be. Might fast forward through this a bit. I'll let it ride. I'm probably going to finish up the stream with this. I want to touch on Monsters and Memories one more time before we finish the stream, and then I'm going to call it a night. Did you hear that sound? Yeah, that's freaky. One more time. Listen. Listen to the ambience, man. It's nuts. Nah, I want to play this, man. I don't care what anyone says. Haters can hate all they want. I want to play this. I'm not ready to pledge $750. No, I'm sorry, but I'll pay $250 if I can have access to this on a daily or weekly basis. It's starting to feel like it has an identity. Yeah, this is really cool. Look how dark it is. It's freaking dark. Oh, that's a skeleton. Oh, heck no. It's literally pitch dark. Did he just die? Yeah, he did. Oh, the sun is starting to rise. See how it had that mist a moment ago? Oh, it got really dark. What the heck? That's freaky. But how it had that mistiness there. It's kind of like how Valheim has all that ambience to it. It's gonna make a world of a difference, both in this game and Monsters and Memories. That atmospheric like fog and stuff is, yeah, huge. Yeah, this is what I wanted to see. I wanted to see how the skybox changes as the sun begins to come out, so it should become a little bit more wholesome. crickets, birds, the wind blowing, footsteps. The sound design is phenomenal. Yeah, so again, not gonna be naive about it. There's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of stuff that they can still fill the game up with, and with mobs and buildings and grass and textures. And come on. But like I said, in my personal opinion, if I'm counting the years of development, I'm counting since 2020. For me, I know I've been following the project since 2014, but in reality, I think the game really started to make dramatic changes so it can find its own identity in 2020. It's officially 2024, so it's been in development, you can say, for 3 to 4 years, and they finally found an art style that matches their needs, that gives them the performance they need. They got the systems down that they need, and yeah, no, it's starting to come together. Now, keep in mind, they got to build the rest of the world, the rest of the zones, the rest of the quests. My personal opinion, they're still years and years away. That's why you kind of have to look at this through the lens of they've been in development since 2020, 2021, and not 2014. You know, just to cut them some slack. But yeah, if they continue making this kind of progress, and most importantly, allowing us to do alpha testing and streaming, I think that they can turn this project around. Funny thing is, Cone Carnage was one of the first people to just state his opinion that he is not a fan of the new art style. But again, I think he prefaced that by saying that I'm sure it's going to grow on me or something like that. But look at this. This does have this reminds me of Unrest, right, from EverQuest. But yeah, this looks cool. And again, I think the sound design is very well done. So, kudos to the team. I know that Joppa is probably playing a big part in that sound design, because that's kind of like the world he comes from. Just my feedback is, please don't lose the vision of what this project was, whether it's EverQuest or Vanguard. Keep to your roots, your original vision. And I'll say the same thing about Monsters and Memories. You know, I really I'm rooting heavily for the Monsters and Memories team. You know, and I think the most important thing is just don't lose sight of the vision of what you're trying to set out to create. Forget what the naysayers are saying. and just do what makes you happy. Jeez, that scream was grim. Hey, thank you. Shout out to Desrin. You guys should definitely follow him. Desrin does. Great content creator. He's part of that Pantheon Plus team, which recently renamed themselves to Static Group Live. So definitely follow them as well. This guy, Class&Cool, you should definitely follow him too. he's all right. I want to finish up this stream in just a moment. What I want to do is two things. One, I want to turn on some I want to finish up this stream with some Monsters and Memories. I appreciate the people that tuned in tonight. I look forward to doing more stuff like this. I want to say a huge thank you to all the developers at Monsters and Memories. What you guys are doing is truly phenomenal. Amazing. You guys have amazing artists, amazing developers, amazing leadership. I think you know this, but everyone's rooting for you guys. Your music and composition is great. I can just tell you guys are super engaged in this project, so I'm rooting for you guys. I'm also rooting for the other guys. Really, anyone that's developing a passion project, I know it takes a lot of work, and when we're watching stuff like this, we don't see all the hard work that happens in the background. Just for me doing these streams and making these recordings, it's been a lot of work, a lot of new equipment, just for me to pursue my hobby of making these videos and streams. So if it takes me hours of work just to produce a single recording, or to set up a live stream and try to balance the audio, I can only imagine how much work you guys do completely pro bono to create amazing concept art, amazing graphics, crafting an entire world, having to write all the lore, and then streaming it for the world to see all at the same time. So if anyone from Monsters and Memories is listening, I just want to send you my thanks, let you know that there's people like me out there that truly appreciate and recognize the hard work that you guys are putting into this project. And as long as you guys don't steer away from your original vision of what you're trying to accomplish, I know that you cannot fail. All right, I think that's it for tonight. I hope you had fun on this stream. And I had a lot of fun. I'll see you guys on the next one. I do want to do this again. And yeah, I had a blast. I'm really having a lot of fun with the recordings. I'm having fun with creating these videos, creating the thumbnails. And you know, putting in all this stuff and making video chapters, making little fun edits throughout the videos. I'm having a blast. So this is like, the fact that people are watching this is a cherry on top, because even if nobody watched these videos, if nobody subscribed, I just want to say how much fun I'm having. And like I said, the fact that people are actually liking, subscribing, and commenting, it's awesome. So thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you. Have a good night. Maybe we'll look through this manual next time and do a deeper dive into it. But with that said, I just want to wish everyone a blessed night. Be safe out there. And, you know, stay smiling, be happy, and hope to see you in EverQuest and Norath, Project Quarm, Monsters and Memories, and one day maybe even Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. It's an exciting time to be following these projects. And I wish you guys the very best. Take care for now. See you soon.